One of the problems with war generally in the United States is that there is no exit strategy defined. How does one win such a war? What does that look like? What are the objectives we have to achieve in order to do that? None of that's been enunciated. At no point has anybody told us what the exit strategy of this is, which means it's worse than you described.
I hope this war in Iran ends. These gas prices are too high and kids are being killed for no reason. Even the Trump administration cannot explain why they're at war in Iran right now. And I mean, like, the Epstein file seems to be as good of a reason as anyone else can figure out. So stop the war.
Meaning this is one of those never-ending wars. We've been at war for 20 plus years in the Middle East, and now here we go again for another 20. So it's more than just a war. This is now a way of life. And that's what everybody voted against. That was the mandate of the people to the president, and yet here we go into another 20-year cycle of war.
Hey friends, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. And if you are here, it means you have the intellectual capacity to discuss and evaluate difficult subjects. And you guys know my friend Todd Callender very well. The other soundbite you heard there was from the 25th Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew, the first First Nations leader to ever hold that position. And his sentiment is echoing throughout the world. In fact, folks, there's a move on X right now to condemn not only this war in Iran, but by parents with young men who pledge they will never allow their sons to go fight in this war. We're going to discuss all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in a very intellectually honest way today. And I thank you so much for tuning in, friends. Before we start, just a quick word about a valued sponsor. We've all seen the headlines about those miracle weight loss shots, but the 2026 data is officially in, and it's a wake-up call. A major analysis revealed that once people stop taking those injections, they regain an average of 60% of the weight within a year. Even worse, most of that gain is pure fat, but the muscle they lost stays gone, leaving them with a crashed metabolism and a body that's functionally older than when they began. That's why I know you're going to be obsessed with today's sponsor, GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of using needles to override your body's system, it uses clinically studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to help your body naturally boost its own hunger control signals. You'll get the same fullness and fewer cravings, but without the scary side effects or the metabolic rebound. GLP-1 Elevate supports your goals while protecting your muscle, so you can actually keep the results for good. To celebrate Valentine's Day, get 50% off GLP-1 Elevate at trimwithsgt.com. Every order includes a complete support bundle with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day money-back guarantee, and free express shipping on subscriptions. Head to trimwithsgt.com right now to claim your 50% discount before it expires. The link is below. Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for being here. Sean from SGT Report. Guys, things are getting dicey and there is some major splintering happening in our country, and I totally understand why. Now, after Donald J. Trump won the election, I thought, what a great time for the world to come together. What a great time to make America great again and save our nation. And now even the MAGA base is splintered. Why? I have some pretty good ideas, and we're going to lay them out in this conversation with my friend, Attorney Todd Callender. He's also an author and the CEO of CloudHub. But before we start, Stockholm Syndrome, folks, is a psychological response in which victims develop empathy or positive feelings toward their captors or abusers as a coping mechanism. The most famous case of this, of course, was Patty Hearst, who was kidnapped by the Sudanese Liberation Army. Now, yes, this is the same Patty Hearst related to William Randolph Hearst, follow the bloodlines. So now I have way more questions about what that was really all about. Todd Callender might have some ideas, but Patty Hearst famously suffered from Stockholm Syndrome and then joined the Sudanese Liberation Army. And we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more today. By the way, who really assassinated Charlie Kirk on September 10th, 25? This image was pulled from video that Candace just shared. This was the video camera that was filming the back of Charlie's head, which now absolutely 100% proves he was not shot with a .30-06 because there was no blood and zero exit wound from behind Charlie. But these are the kids that saw Charlie die in real time. Who really assassinated Charlie Kirk? We're going to take a look at those comments in just 1 second. Todd Callender's here. How are you, Todd?
Yeah, happy to be with you on a Friday. Missing the good Dr. Vliet, but it's a beautiful Friday nonetheless. Sean, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for coming back. I can always count on you for a level-headed view and honesty, candidness from the great Todd Callender. He's one who's not afraid to speak the truth. And I think that there's a lot of splintering happening in the MAGA base because we've been lied to by the current president. Now, we'll get there in this conversation. But before we go back to those comments under that image I shared of the moment Charlie was shot in the neck, we're going to look at those comments because, again, it demonstrates the fracturing in the base. Nobody knows what to believe anymore. We're being astroturfed, gaslit, and conditioned, really, at every single turn we have been from birth. And one of the new terms flying around that I really bump on, and I did a video about it yesterday, Todd, is this term panicon. If you don't trust the plan, whatever that plan is, more war in the Middle East, sending our treasure over there to die in yet another war for Israel, if you don't trust the plan, whatever the plan is, you're a panicked conservative, a panicon. Your thoughts on that term, Todd?
Wow, another label. It might as well end in ist because any label makes it convenient to demonize another group of people. It's just absurd. So we're going to label people so we can differentiate them and divide humanity yet again into another subgroup. All of this is by design. Let's go back to January of 1981, where William Casey, the new CIA director for the new President Reagan, states, quote unquote, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." I mean, they tell us what it is they're going to do. And the point is that we don't know what's true anymore because we've been indoctrinated from birth through the school system, through the media, focusing all of its energies and efforts onto manipulating the way we think, our perspectives and everything else. So part of that process, the psychological warfare, is to identify a group, separate them out, demonize them so that we can call them too conspiracy theorists or conopans or whatever it was you said. It's just another part of the battle for our minds.
Yeah, panicon. Now, here's the thing.
Whatever.
If you don't trust whatever the current hidden plan is, because we now know that there is no plan for what's going on in Iran, okay, the people that have been briefed have come out to the public and said they literally have no plan. This is really scary stuff, guys. But if you don't trust the plan, you're a panicon. Meanwhile, we're being told we just need to endure a little short-term pain for long-term gain. That brings us back to who really assassinated Charlie Kirk. The current administration does not care. The current administration also has been covering up the Epstein emails. The current administration is covering up what really happened in Butler, PA, to Donald Trump. The current administration just promoted Erica Kirk to some Air Force board, and the current administration lied about no war with Iran. Here we go, folks. Nobody knows what to believe. You're supposed to trust the plan. Meanwhile, I'm being told underneath this picture of the moment Charlie Kirk was assassinated that it was a psyop. No one was shot that day. Okay, how about this one from Alice? He's not dead. Good grief. Here's the problem I have with all that, Todd, and then we're going to hear from Candace. 2 clips from Candace I want to play. The problem with all of that is that it dismisses the fact that what's been revealed by Candace's expose on Erica Kirk and Candace's investigation into what really happened on September 10th, to say that Charlie is not dead and just to dismiss all of that, it dismisses the fact that there was military involvement that day. And I guess maybe I should play this clip from Candace.
Well,
better than I can. Go ahead.
Let me just, before you do that, state this. I have killed and eaten many a deer and elk that I shot with a 30-06 and buffalo, for that matter. There is no way he was shot with a 30-06. This is an impossibility. Aside from no blood, there was no exploding head, exploding neck. So let's just start with that. Because the rest of the paradigm, the rest of the story cannot possibly be true if that's where it begins.
Okay, and why do I keep talking about Charlie Kirk? Because Charlie Kirk was one of the obstacles to this new war in Iran. He literally begged Trump. He visited Trump in the White House, and the only reason there were limited attacks the last time around with Iran, right, on their nuclear sites, which were said to have been a total success, Todd. The only reason that that was a limited strike against Iran is because Charlie Kirk had the president's ear. Now Charlie Kirk is dead, and we're going into Iran, and there's talk of troops on the ground. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I want to play this clip. This is really important, guys, because the cover-up of the Epstein files is part and parcel to this entire story. We're not getting the truth about the Epstein files, and Trump's name appears in the Epstein files. Here's Candace.
And from where I'm sitting, it looks like Donald Trump and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi colluded to lie to the American people about the Epstein files. At the very least, we can now assert that they intentionally covered up for Jared Kushner's Israeli business friends who sold Ivanka and Jared their Miami mansion, and they were just found guilty of sex trafficking.
And let me share this tweet from Candace. The world will soon learn that global elites have been effectively farming trafficked children all across the United States. Most of these children are from Eastern Europe. They are being sexually abused and groomed from youth. This is Project Monarch, to which, of course, David Icke, everybody else has to crap on Candace. She's doing the best she can. David Icke says, soon learn. Project Monarch was exposed by survivor Kathy O'Brien and her partner Mark Phillips in the 80s in Transformation of America. Kathy became a close friend, et cetera, da-da-da-da-da. Now, here's the important part. Its horrific connections to Bill Clinton, Father Bush, Dick Cheney, and a stream of others. Kathy suffered directly and has an extraordinary story she's been telling for decades to anyone who would listen. David Icke, we appreciate that information. Here's what I wanted to share. Donald J. Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files. Now, again, I didn't read this the other day. I told my readers to read it for themselves, but I posted it, I retweeted it, and here's the comments I got. Unfollowed. You're a disappointment and a traitor. This has zero evidence. You have disappointed me and many others, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Traitor to MAGA. Okay. Well, let me remind people David Icke's tweet implicating Bush Sr. Here's Bush Sr. in the Epstein emails having reportedly raped a boy. Folks, Todd, I think this is what I'm talking about when I refer to Stockholm Syndrome. Okay, we can all accept Bush Sr. is in the emails, but I guess, I don't know, are these bots? Or is the division in MAGA just this deep that some people are now suffering from Stockholm Syndrome? And I'm a traitor for pointing out that Trump is in the emails.
I don't know the answer to that question. It could be either or both. It doesn't matter.
That I'm a traitor for pointing it out, or that Trump is in the emails?
The bots. No, the bots, and there's really a division or not. It's hard to tell these days because, funny enough, we now understand that the vast majority of the dialogue on X is coming out of India. They only now are they actually applying filters as to where this stuff comes from, the bots and dialogue and clickbait, for lack of a better word. But the point is that it's all driven to change the way that we think and shape that narrative as it relates to President Trump being in the Epstein files. Let them stand on their own. There's a word in Latin, it's the phrase, rapes ipsa loquitur. Res ipsa loquitur means it speaks for itself. Why do we have to take a side in this? Let the documents speak for themselves. Let the man comment on his own conduct or lack thereof, and we can judge him based on that. We should also be judging him based on his actions. Right? I believe in God, not in man as God. That therein lies the problem, is when we elevate people to this status where they're treated to be God-like, then it becomes a cult. And I think that's the concern that you're really going after here, is that people will die on the sword for the man as though he is a god. I would rather look at him and his actions objectively and say, is this good for America or is this not? Is it good for the citizens who comprise our country, or is it good for the government system itself, or for a different government for that matter? The point is the facts should be speaking for themselves, irrespective of our feelings towards the person.
Okay, well, here are some facts. I know you all get tired of hearing from Candace. I don't think most of you listen to Candace, so I'm going to play this clip. This is from last night.
Every time the pedophiles get caught, they want a world war. That's what I've learned. Look at what was going on in Vienna. Look up old Vienna, Sigmund Freud and his boys and what they were doing to kids there. And then just in time, world war. World wars happening and smashing historical records, reintroducing themselves as actually the victims, these perverts that were in Vienna, hiding what they did. by the way, the descendants of the Bolsheviks giving themselves a nation. These are the same people that we are fighting. You will always know them by their fruit. And I wouldn't even call it fruit. You will always know them by what they do.
Their deeds.
Yeah, their deeds. And let me just pause it and say, when she refers to Vienna, she's talking about the Bolsheviks in Germany after World War II. Guess where they fled? They fled to Israel. I'll continue.
They can't stop doing the same thing, which is harming children. So you should be optimistic because we're talking about it. It's mainstreamed. We can talk about the occult. No one cares about these psychos screaming online, demanding a consequence for speech. We see what their threats are. We see what their games are. We're going to impoverish you. Trump allowing that, by the way. Macron abuses a kid who suing Candace for talking about it. What kind of president doesn't make a statement? That is a threat to all Americans. Another sitting president is suing a podcaster for speaking about the reality of what happened, the reality of what he is married to, missing military files, and Trump does nothing. What does that tell you? He's impotent. Do you know what else that tells you? Jared Kushner's dad, who Trump, despite his record, what is it called when for some reason alimony is in my head?
It's a pardon. The name escaped her. It's a pardon. Trump gave Jared Kushner's father a pardon and then made him ambassador to France.
France, by the way, I have told you guys this repeatedly, was there on the day of Charlie's assassination. I have made that statement and the White House has not disputed it. Have they? People online, oh, it's crazy. It's a conspiracy. Nope. Well, wouldn't the White House just say that that's not true? The French Foreign Legion, which is a legion made up of, in part, a lot of criminals.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. The reason I'm playing this is because one of the most sensational, seminal assassinations in American history took place on September 10th, 2025 in broad daylight. They chose that. They wanted that. They wanted us all to suffer from the trauma of watching Charlie Kirk get shot in the neck. And by the way, it looks like it was the Rode microphone, some sort of explosive device, not a 30-06. This godforsaken government is covering it all up and now asking us to spill our blood in Iran. Hard stop. I say no. Look, they can impoverish me. They can print the money out of thin air. They can lie to me. They can say no new wars. They can cover up all these assassinations. They can do all of that. But you know what they can't do, Todd? They can't make me send my 19-year-old son to die in another one of their goddamn wars. I don't trust this plan. What am I saying wrong?
No, you're not saying it wrong. I think it is a plan, but not in the sense that people understand. At the end of the day, let's look a little higher perspective, and that is the end of nations, as was the plan vis-a-vis Klaus Schwab and that gang of people, World Economic Forum, collectively the owner class. They want to roll in their autocratic, their AI-governed society by the destruction of all the other societies. Ordo ab cao is their credo. So it doesn't matter by what metric there is chaos created, but disenfranchisement from your government does the same thing, as does implanting foreign agents that destroy your government from within. For instance, Lloyd Austin fragging our troops with the poison shots. First thing you do to destroy your country is destroy your own military. And only now people are confronting this reality, the point of which is that all governments, whether it's mass migration, there's literally a UN document called Replacement Migration. If I haven't sent it to you, I will. It's designed globally to create chaos so that, per the Hegelian dialectic, they can bring in order. So does it matter whether it's we lose faith in our government because Mr. Trump is lying? Does it matter if we lose faith because we understand now that the governing class are a bunch of pedophiles? By any means whatsoever, we now don't believe in any of it. And that lends itself towards our natural instincts, which is to seek an ordered society. So we just have to be careful that as we are disenfranchised, we don't fall into that trap. It's up to us to fix it, is what I'm trying to say to you. We can be pissed off all we want to, which is what they want. That is the plan. What we've got to do is figure out how to fix it ourselves, irrespective of this control paradigm.
Well, then let me ask you this before I play a couple of clips and a warning to those of you who have young men in your lives. By the way, Pentagon confirms all 6 crew dead as pro-Iran Iraqi militants claim they downed a U.S. refueling plane. Guys, that's a KC-135, a stratotanker. 6 crews confirmed dead by the Pentagon. Folks, this is not going well. And I guess what I want to ask before I play this clip of Scott Bessent, Todd, is when we hear from people who we care about, people with whom we're friendly, who use the term panicon and say, I'm tired of all the doomers who won't get on board with President Trump. What do you make of that statement, given everything I've just outlined? I feel, again, like a bit of Stockholm Syndrome here.
Sure it is. Why not? But it's just another label. It's hardly any different. Conspiracy theorist has lost its effect. Why? Because they're legitimate conspiracies. There's no theory about it. So that's lost. So let's come up with a new phrase to do the exact same thing, to label and identify people so that we can exclude them from the conversation or society. It's the exact same paradigm, and yet we fall for it again and again. So why are we labeling people? Why are we dividing people in this fashion or allowing it to happen?
I guess what I'm really stunned by is why would anybody in the mega base, I don't care if you're Insurrection Barbie, I don't care if you're Gunther Eagleman, you can be one of these knee benders who's already stood down to Israel. No matter what Israel does, we support Israel. I get it. Oh, I guess maybe that's the class I'm talking about, but I'm actually not. I'm talking about other people you and I know where this brain disease has spilled over, and now they're saying trust the plan, when we literally put a man in office who promised no more wars in the Middle East, specifically no war with Iran, and here we are. And now our American treasure is being spilled in Iran, and he's talking about boots on the ground in Iran. You probably have a comment.
I do have a comment. But before you get to that, let me just add this comment. One of the problems with war generally in the United States is that there is no exit strategy defined. How does one win such a war? What does that look like? What are the objectives we have to achieve in order to do that? None of that's been enunciated. At no point has anybody told us what the exit strategy of this is, which means it's worse than you described. And this is one of those never-ending wars. We've been at war for 20 plus years in the Middle East, and now here we go again for another 20. So it's more than just a war. This is now a way of life, and that's what everybody voted against. That was the mandate of the people to the president, and yet here we go into another 20-year cycle of war.
Yep, and here's the thing. People should march in the streets over this stuff. They're talking about a draft, folks, and I don't think it's just hyperbole at this point. They're pretty serious. Look at this.
I listened to you on the...
The president wants you. Sorry, the president wants you right away.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem at all.
So Bessent was pulled out of an interview, a live interview. President wants to talk to you right away. Listen to this.
See you shortly, Mr. Secretary.
You can work that in.
Mr. Secretary, I have to say, it's a first, I'm sure a last as well, that an interviewee's been pulled away to go to the Situation Room. How was the president? Was he stressed?
No, the president is in great spirits. The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule, and I have to tell you, Wolf, that I've a teenager who's considering military service, and I could give this team my highest compliment, from President Trump to the head of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of War. I would say that I would trust my child's life in their hands.
Okay, well, that makes one of us. That makes one of us, Todd. I think the propaganda and the gaslighting has now begun. They might be very serious about a draft and sending our sons and daughters over there to this hellhole. Meanwhile, the Pentagon just approved deploying boots on the ground in Iran with an expeditionary unit of 2,500 Marines. Here's the reaction from Iranian leadership.
Has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
Okay, so what am I doing here? Because Sean knows that they can steal our money. They can print the money out of thin air. They can impoverish us. They can turn us over to the United Nations, the World Economic Forum. They can turn us over to Klaus Schwab, Rothschild themselves. By the way, Epstein reported directly to Rothschild. Rothschild equals Israel. Israel equals Epstein.
You would be shocked appears that some of the names that I have seen that came across the DOJ in emails that the DOJ is protecting, and we're talking about people on both sides of the aisle. We're talking about famous people, rich people, people in power, prime ministers, former presidents, et cetera, media personalities that are named in these files. And that's why I say this is going to go down as the greatest cover-up, one of the greatest cover-ups in American history.
I mean, folks, can we stitch this thing together? Now they want you to send your treasure, your sons over there to die in another one of these stinking wars, which we were promised wouldn't happen under Trump. That's what I'm fighting for, Todd. I'm fighting for people to wake up.
Well, let's just go ahead and add that to the fact that we are in the middle of a depopulation agenda. By what mechanism it happens is irrelevant. Nuclear war, poisoning, regular war, kinetic war, like you see in Ukraine or in what I prefer to call Persia. It doesn't make any difference. The end result is the same. The goal of the enterprise is the eradication of our species, an extinction level event. So this works just fine for that purpose. And by the way, the Iranian general didn't look the slightest bit bluffed. He's like, yeah, sure, bring him. So what does that tell you?
You know what it tells me? It tells me that he lives in a nation that is over 3 times the size of Iraq and surrounded by mountains. It's like sending troops to the moon, but with mountains. I mean, this is absolutely preposterous. The generals warned Trump against this. He did it anyway. I got to tell you, Todd, I just think it's a bridge too far. By the way, guys, Todd sent me 2 clips I want to play about just how serious things are over there and the kind of weaponry that is controlled by Iran in the Straits of Hormuz. We're going to take a look at that in just one second. But one thing I wanted to share with the audience is this war in Iran makes 0 sense from an American security perspective. We've already now lost all sorts of bases in the Middle East that have been bombed. Iran wants an immediate withdrawal from all these bases. I don't think our partners are going to let us rebuild those bases that were built over a period of years. And meanwhile, the Iranian war makes no sense unless you look at it from an eschatological viewpoint, a biblical viewpoint. And Professor Jiang's making the rounds. I know he's highly popular now. Let's take a listen to his viewpoint on this from an eschatological view.
So I actually don't say the real power base is Israel. What I say is that the real power base are a collection of secret societies that have an eschatological view of this war. And these secret societies include the Freemasons, which are now called the Rosicrucians and the Knights Templars. They include Jewish organizations called the Sephardim Frankists, who are embedded in religious movements called Shabbat Lubavitch. And then you have the Jesuits. You have a collection of secret societies. And they believe that a war in the Middle East would start a process that would culminate in the end times and the return of Jesus, the arrival of the Jewish Messiah, the building of a one world government. They have different eschatologies, but a lot of their time frames do align. So where they converge is that there has to be a war in the Middle East to kick things off. This war in the Middle East will lead to the defeat of the American Empire. And this will lead to the culmination of the Greater Israel Project, where Israel is able to control the Middle East from the Nile to the Euphrates. Once the Greater Israel Project is in place, it will transform into the Pax Judaica, which is an AI surveillance state. This will eventually lead to the war of Gog and Magog, the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the building of the Third Temple, the return of the Jewish diaspora to Jerusalem, and the arrival of the Jewish Messiah or the Antichrist. So they have the scripted out. And unfortunately, a lot of world events are conforming to this script.
All right.
That's right.
Well, what have I been saying?
He's right. And by the way, I saw, funny enough, a clip from Mr. Netanyahu more or less saying something along those lines, that this war will lead to the greater Israel, the all-powerful Israel. He said it himself.
Well, and there are a lot of smart people out there that are now positing that this is all being done by design to neuter the United States.
Sure.
We've already lost all our bases there. We've already lost many of our bases in the Middle East.
Sure.
We've pissed off our allies. And guess what? Once the United States isn't there to sort of keep an eye on Israel and prevent Israel from attacking everybody, maybe that's exactly the point. Maybe that's what Rothschild wants. You get the United States out of that part of the world. You economically collapse or neuter the United States, and then Israel can do whatever they want. But guess what? This war's not going very well for Israel right now either, Todd.
Well, please go back to 5 or 6 years ago when we first started speaking about this. This happened. I was there. I litigated it. Lloyd Austin poisoned our troops. 70+% of our troops are now disabled. It's in their records. They have disability impairment ratings, largely, if not mostly, as a function of the shots that they were forced to take. If you're going to destroy a country, wouldn't you start with the military? And now we send over an impotent military, impotent in the sense not just that they're disabled or suffering maladies, that they're still going forward with their daily tasks. But you now understand that some are actually intentionally sabotaging their ships so they don't have to go to fight. Why is that? Because there's no trust in leadership. There has been no reconciliation, no reckoning. Nobody's been held accountable. People won't die for their commanders if they don't trust them. If they don't trust the guy in charge, they're not going to go to war for him. What I'm trying to say to you is the mass opt-out is at the doorstep of the United States. And if they go to try and draft people, it's not going to work because people have lost trust in leadership.
Okay, well, that brings us to another line item, and I don't have a clip called up. I could certainly search for it quickly enough. Trump was asked, and so was Pete Hegseth. I think Pete Hegseth specifically asked about this new move to get National Guard troops in all 50 states, boots on the ground in the streets of America by April 1st, if need be. And a lot of people are now concerned that that's because this war is going forward. To hell with what the American people think. And if they need your sons and daughters to go die in this meat grinder, there will be a draft. And guess what? If you don't like it, National Guard troops on the ground.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C., we've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Sorry for a quick break, guys. Friends, if you're getting to that age where your body just feels sluggish and off all the time, then listen up. Our friend Dr. Josh says all of that may be signs of a clogged liver. You've probably heard about how important your liver is for detoxification, digestion, and energy. But here's the thing. Most people have no idea how clogged and overburdened their liver actually is. Essentially, a healthy liver equals a healthy you. That's why Dr. Josh, a practicing doctor with over 25 years of medical experience, formulated a special liver supplement called Ultra Liver that acts like a deep cleanse for your entire body. Say goodbye to chronic fatigue, bloating, and skin issues, and say hello to renewed energy, clearer thinking, and a body that's operating at 100%. So if you're ready to unclog your liver, flush out toxins, and finally feel like your body's running the way it should, go to tryultraliver.com/SGT and grab your bottles today. Right now, Dr. Josh is running a special sale up to 50% off, but only through the link below this video. Do yourself a favor, take back control of your liver, your energy, and your life.
We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Now, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm just positing that as a possibility because evidently, if you don't get on board with this plan, you're a panicon, even though we've been lied to. The cover-up of the Epstein emails, the cover-up of the Butler PA assassination, the cover-up of the Kirk assassination, Erica Kirk promoted to an Air Force board. Trump lied to us about not going to war with Iran. And now, troops on the ground and a draft is on the table?
Yeah, those are pretty scary details. When you add them all up, the culmination of them, and you think through the permutations where this ends, I think you draw a reasonable conclusion. Could those troops be used for the purpose of a forced draft? And it's not far-fetched. We saw it actually in Ukraine. A lot of Ukrainians left. They fled to Poland and other parts. And the fighting men or men of fighting age, those who lingered actually ended up getting conscripted at the pointy end of a bayonet. So what you describe is entirely possible.
All right. Well,
and by the way, whatever happened to posse comitatus? Right, that's illegal, except for the fact that there is no law. It was revoked. Our Constitution was revoked in 2020 and replaced by 42 CFR Part 70 and 71.
Well, okay, before I play this clip, let's just, okay, let me, I don't want to sound hysterical here, but again, they've lied to us so many times that, again, it's like if you were a captor and these people had kidnapped you, do you just learn to love your captors because they're feeding you well and now they're being nice to you? Like they kidnapped you brutally, they beat you up a little bit, they, blindfolded you, threw you in a van, bagged you, but now they're being nice to you, and so you're just gonna just go along. You're gonna go along. You've got Stockholm syndrome. I mean, that's what I feel like, Todd. That's what I feel like is happening here, and I just don't understand how could the base be this fractured to just accept these lies. We've been told. I just recounted 5 big lies.
Well, people are confused, right? That's also part of the programming. If you go back to your original premise, Patty Hearst, right? Heiress to the empire of the Hearst was a media empire, if memory serves, and bloodline kind of stuff, as you discuss. There was a lot of people that were trapped in the MK Ultra program in that period of time, and lots of whistleblowers have come forth since then. There's a lot of evidence to support that. So what makes us think this just isn't a bigger version of that with, digital interference in our bodies, frequencies that are now poisoning our bodies? The good Dr. Vliet says that they can reproduce any malady known to man by simply introducing frequencies of stimulation. So given everything we understand, including poisons in our food, poisons in our shot, poisons from the sky, why would we think anything different from what it is you suggest?
Okay, so with that said, Lloyd Austin poisoned our troops.
Yes, he did.
Your words, right? Okay.
Well, no, I sued him because of it. I
know.
sued to stop him.
I know. And so have the shots stopped? Are they still poisoning our troops?
Well, here's the good no. Yes. So the short answer is yes. 500,000 troops have received the shots since that order was revoked. They're still trying to force the troops to do it. The only good news I saw today is now HHS has defunded BARDA, who came as a result of Operation Warp Speed as it relates to the production of mRNA. We're 6 years later, effectively, and it's taken that long to stop them from making these poison shots after everybody's been poisoned. Certainly more than half of the planet has been poisoned by the shots alone, irrespective of chemtrailing and genetically modified food and drugs and everything else.
Okay, so help a dumb guy understand. If Lloyd Austin was poisoning our troops with an experimental bioweapon,
yes,
and it continued under Trump, why did it continue under Trump? Could Trump have stopped that single-handedly himself?
Well, first and foremost, Operation Warp Speed was launched, believe it or not, under Obama. Trump came in at the tail end of it, but did in fact play a role toward the end of his presidency. The Biden administration actually carried the bulk of it. But when President Trump reassumed office, he very well could have said, no more mRNA shots. We're done with that. But that's not what happened. Actually, instead, he had Albert Bourla, the head of Pfizer, and Bill Gates to the White House for dinner. So the optics are pretty bad.
Yeah, the optics are pretty damn bad for those of us paying attention. And yet people who I like in the space, conservatives, are telling those of us questioning any of us that we're panicons and we're doomers for questioning the great Donald J. Trump. And I just reject it out of whole cloth. I have to reject it. It's in my heart and soul to
admit. The truth is the truth.
Well, and I can see the data. So,
yes.
Okay, before I play this then, is there any data that I'm omitting? Is there any data that would suggest that people like And We Know and X22 Report, guys that I like and know, are right and I'm wrong? We should trust the plan because everything's going according to plan. Sure. What is this mysterious, awesome plan for America?
Well, sure there is, and he deserves credit for this. The very first thing President Trump did when he re-entered office was close the borders, and it's probably the single most important thing he did in his presidency. And the reason for that is the world was being forced towards this global governance model with the elimination of borders, including the fact that Biden went to Mexico City on January 10, 2023, along with Trudeau from Canada, and they made the Declaration of North America. The legal effect of that is the Articles of Dissolution of our nation. The very next day, Alejandro Mayorkas, head of Homeland Security, welded open the border gates. He eliminated the borders between the United States and Mexico and Canada as well in furtherance of this North American area. That is the end of sovereignty. President Trump, very first day, closes the borders and starts exporting the mercenaries and everybody else that came in illegally. That's called the reestablishment of sovereignty. He created the opportunity for a nation to preserve itself, but it's up to us. And since that point in time, sovereignty has become contagious. And I've seen it myself in South America. We just saw the Chilean president who's come into power. Same thing in Bolivia. Bukele, who I know you like, in El Salvador. But so these are nations standing on their own with their own flags that could not and would not have happened but for what President Trump did when he re-entered office this time. So you got to give him credit for that too.
Okay.
There's good and there's bad.
Okay. So with everything you just said, that's the good, cup half full. The bad is that he's embarked on this new adventure against the advice of the generals, and he's lost the Straits of Hormuz. So the oil isn't going to be coming through, and everything is going to get more expensive.
No, oil's going through. It's going through to China and India, just nowhere else.
Okay.
Because they're allies of Iran. But in the meantime, there you go. Go ahead and play it.
Yeah. In the meantime, here's what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz.
This is that huge oil tanker completely bashed by some kind of invisible attack. Where did that attack actually come from? What was it that attacked the ship? Nobody has been able to say so far. There's only been a whisper of suggestion.
A whisper of suggestion. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Todd sent me this clip. Todd knows exactly what these weapons are.
The missiles get the headlines. The Dragon gets the ships. Beneath the Strait of Hormuz, Ajdar, silent, invisible, and waiting. 8 meters long, 50 kilograms of explosives, 96 hours of patience. It doesn't announce itself, it just detonates. The real blockade isn't above the water.
Yeah. Means dragon in Farsi. Everybody likes dragons in Asia.
The Dragon gets the ships, she said. So yeah. I guess I'd really like to be a fly on the wall at this point because, you know, this is the same Pete Hegseth whose Department of War leadership was telling some of the enlisted men that Trump is ordained by God. Do not be afraid. He's going to bring about Armageddon so they could usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. So these are things that are being said reportedly to some of our troops. So I guess taking a look at the eschatological view on this thing makes quite a bit of sense. And it makes me wonder if the Rothschild model isn't just to expedite all of this. You know, let's just move straight into World War III and let's get this thing let's get it all over with. Let's bring on these biblical wars as described in the book of Revelation.
Well, Revelations and the Chinese professor you had on before saying the same thing. I've listened to a number of his lectures. He's really quite knowledgeable. I appreciate what it is he has to offer because he brings specifics and evidence. And that's really what we all have to be doing is looking at anecdotal evidence and then applying it to what it is we're saying. And this is what we've done today. You've done a brilliant job of it. Do the facts add up according to what it is that we know and we see? And the answer is they don't. So then one must ask the question, why? Why are there so many non-seculars? To who does it benefit and why? And that's leading us all towards this very same end. That if there is chaos, who does that chaos serve and why? And the professor said himself, at the end of the day, global governance, AI, whatever, the end of the world as the case may be, we seem to be marching right towards that relatively quickly.
I want to play this clip, and I'm shocked that I would ever play a clip from David Pakman. Here's a clip of Pete Hegseth. Evidently, they're not even willing to disclose the number of U.S. casualties at this point. And we know the official tally of, what was it for a long time? For like a week, it was 6, and now we have 6 crew members aboard that KC-135, so that's 12. Reports are that it's really much closer to 150, but nothing's verified. Listen to this.
Yeah, right there, green jacket. Mike Bress with the Washington Examiner. How many American casualties have there been, and where were the American service members when they were injured?
I mean, it's a bunch of return to duty. So we've had the large majority have gone in for some medical treatment and return to duty. We've had in Kuwait, Jordan, down across the southern flank a little bit, a variety of places, most from one-way attack strikes.
Todd, do you think that's possible?
He didn't say anything.
But do you think it's even possible that the majority are just A-okay and return to service? No problem. They got a couple Band-Aids in Germany. Now they're okay. Is everything's fine? When we saw, like, well, we haven't seen, they've been censoring a lot of it, but reports are our military bases in the region have been absolutely devastated.
Yeah, that's actually been something bothering me. I'm glad you raised the issue. First and foremost, he didn't say anything. He didn't answer the question. He's very adept at that, what they call a Barnum answer. Barnum and Bailey, they don't say anything. It just sounds good. But what you raise is a very interesting point. So we see the attacks on the aircraft carriers, three-ring layered defense, right? They got all this figured out. Nothing ends up hitting it, despite overwhelming odds that one of these drones is going to land to strike. Where exactly was the defense for the land bases in Qatar and United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia? How is it that they were so easily struck and destroyed? When the aircraft carriers got three lines of defense, at least, if not more, or layers, why is it that the land bases didn't also enjoy that very same kind of protection? It's the same team, right? It's the same weaponry. So what happened? And there's a reason for that. It's a non sequitur. Again, was it allowed to happen? Well, what were the circumstances? And the reason I ask that is those are different countries. So one could arrive at the conclusion, well, the Qataris didn't want Minuteman missiles on their territory. Fine. But what about the Saudis? They're now buying Ukrainian anti-drone devices because they don't want their oil fields hit. So that logic doesn't apply universally amongst everybody that's in the Gulf. So why is it that our bases seem to have been left largely undefended?
Yeah, well, that's, I think, what our allies in the region are wondering. The same allies that buy up our debt, the trillions and trillions of debt that the Chinese and the Japanese don't want anymore. I won't play this clip, but I just want people to understand that Candace has uncovered the connections that Erica Kirk and her mother have, not only to the military-industrial complex, but Erica Kirk specifically, highly potentially to Jeffrey Epstein himself. Through a modeling agency in New York City, for which she evidently was the point person. Erica Kirk was the point person for helping these young European models get housing. They were jammed in these small apartments like sardines. And it's very, very important because, again, the same administration that's covering up the Epstein files, Trump said, what are we still talking about Epstein? Why are we talking about Epstein? It's a non-story. Okay, she's uncovering. And by the way, it's the same Trump who just promoted Erica Kirk to some advisory position on some board of the U.S. Air Force, a 16-person board that normally takes quite a bit of vetting. It's like
the Air Force Academy.
It's a big deal to get appointed to that, is it not, Todd?
Sure,
but Erica Kirk, if
is.
she's a grieving widow, she qualifies.
Yeah,
I don't understand. It just seems like they're setting her up. The whole intent was Charlie's out of the way. Grieving America supports Erica Kirk. She becomes the CEO of TPUSA, no questions asked. It turns into a Zionist takeover entity, which it already was, which Charlie woke up to. He had a big problem with that. They whacked him. He's out of the way. And now TPUSA, no problem. Erica Kirk, get a promotion to the Air Force Board. The point I'm trying to make is this is the same Trump that's covering up the Epstein emails, who's promoting Erica Kirk. Erica Kirk looks like she has ties directly to Epstein. So there's a lot more to see here, folks. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And the only person doing the work is Candace Owens. So no wonder Tucker and Candace are enemies number 1 and 2 of the knee benders, Todd.
I mean, God love them. The truth is the best weapon we have. Satan's weapon is deception. So God love the both of them.
Well, any words, any sage words of advice for those listening who now think I'm a traitor for daring to question President Trump and this insane plan to kill our sons in another war, this time in Iran?
I don't know if it's a plan or not. What we do have is the facts, and the facts as you lay them out is that they are absolutely considering a draft. Secondarily, we are absolutely at war with Iran, no matter how you characterize it. Number 3, this is spilling out of control very quickly. And number 4, there's a lack of leadership and trust because there are inconsistencies in the story, all of which creates distrust. So I'm with you. I don't think I would be wanting to go to war myself. If I was a younger man, I'd be seriously considering, is this what I want to do? Because I don't believe in the mission. And I think that's the problem. We don't have a defined mission. If Make America Great Again is the mission, how exactly is that happening? By what metric is that happening? And I think we just have to be absolutely honest with ourselves, look at the facts as they are, and then make a reasoned decision. We've got to be intellectually honest, irrespective of our feelings towards somebody. Put them aside. Let's look at things in the cold, hard truth. And then at the end of the day, Sean, again, it's up to us. President Trump isn't going to save us. No politician is going to save us. It is up to us. Our country is made of people who comprise the government. The government looks at us now as serfs, as subjects. Until we take that back or until we invalidate it and replace it with our own, nothing is going to change.
And the last point I want to make, the reason I'm riled up about this is the reason I think we all should be, and it's because we attacked Iran first. Okay, it'd be a whole different thing, folks, if they lobbed missiles at us or at our aircraft carriers, or they attacked us first, whatever. But we attacked them first for Israel. For Israel. So for the historical record, for those of you that are trusting the plan and will end up sending your treasure, your sons over there to fight this war if it comes to that, we struck first, Todd.
Fair. That is fair. But I would also offer to you this, and I understand this from people that were there, so to speak, that in the last stages of the negotiation before the decision was made, the offer was, hey, Iran, we will give to you free power ad infinitum for free, much as you want, if you abandon your nuclear weapons program. And the answer back was no. And so President Trump took that to mean that this is not about energy. This is about using nuclear weapons for Iran. And to his credit, if we take Iran at their word, for 48 or more years, death to America, death to Israel, we're going to start a nuclear war. We could take them at their word, right? It's not hard to do so. Also considering the fact that there were a whole lot of improvised explosive devices across Iraq and Afghanistan and everywhere else. Those were Iranian made. So the truth is inconvenient on all sides, but nonetheless, it must be stated.
Okay, well, let me counterpoint that over that weekend, when the U.S. launched a surprise attack and blew up 2 girls' schools with 2 Tomahawk missiles that's now on the rack.
Are you sure that was the United States that did that? Because I've seen other reports to the contrary.
Have you seen the image of the Tomahawk missile that went into the girls' school?
No, show me what that is. Let's look at that.
I will call that up and I will put it on the screen because I just want people to know that when that surprise attack occurred over the weekend, the Iranians that weekend went about their weekend believing Marco Rubio was going to be there for more negotiations on Monday. Okay, that was the official story. And then we struck a surprise attack and blew up 2 girls' schools. So
I just want to make sure that the causality is being properly applied. That's all I'm asking here, is to understand that, because I don't know the answer to that. You're saying it's a U.S. Tomahawk missile. I would like to have some level of certainty that that's true, because I can tell you that is highly unlikely, given all of the redundant systems in the U.S. military that look at potential civilian casualties before they hit a target. In fact, I went to law school with a guy. He was a full bird colonel. That was his only job, was to call off strikes where there might be too many civilian casualties associated with any particular strike. That sounds specious to me.
Looking for it right now.
It sounds like it's made up to me. That this was a false flag is what this sounds like to me.
That Iran would have blown up their own girls' schools.
Well, or even the IDF or somebody else, but blame it on Americans. Whoever it was, how do we know that was an American job, an American strike? It doesn't fit traditional paradigm.
All right. This is the image right here, Todd, that people have bumped on. Yeah, and there are others.
Does it have USA on the side of it?
Well, there are others on X, I guess, military experts that can say specifically that is a Tomahawk missile. So I guess that's
there's lots of countries that use those kinds of things. How do we know that?
But Iran doesn't have them. Does Iran have U.S.-made Tomahawk missiles?
Well, how do you know that was U.S.-made? What exactly tells you that was U.S.-made?
Okay, then it was probably Israeli.
I don't know the answer to the question. It could have been anybody's. All I'm saying is that before we attribute these deaths to the United States, we should have some evidence that is in fact the case. That's all I'm saying. It's too convenient to blame 72 deaths of little girls in a school on the U.S. because it benefits who? It benefits the Iranian government. Look at these bad Americans for doing this. Right? It's too easy to get away with this. And we don't know if that's true. And we don't know where it came from or why. So before we start blaming the U.S. government for this, I think we should have some level of certainty that it actually was U.S. government. It's completely against U.S. military policy. That much I can assure you.
I know I've seen the administration accepting some blame for this. Where the hell did I see that?
Well, if they admitted it, that's good enough for me. So that'd be called primary evidence.
Suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But Tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
I'll just pause it there. You know what? I want to like that man so much. He's just really let me down.
But what he said is fair.
He doesn't care about who killed Charlie Kirk. He doesn't care about the Epstein files. He doesn't care about bringing the clients to justice. He promised no more war in the Middle East, specifically no war with Iran. And here we are, Todd. That's the reason for this broadcast. Just trying to be honest, intellectually honest.
Intellectually honest includes that statement the man said. I don't know. These are possibilities. I'll live with the consequences, whatever the facts may be. So let's find out what the facts are and then hold whoever's responsible accountable. All I'm saying is let us not jump to conclusions. I'm a lawyer. I want evidence.
New York Times reporting this morning, they were able to see the site clearly in publicly available data that shows this was clearly a school. So I have very serious questions that I asked in the Armed Services Committee hearing this morning of our top generals, asking specifically, how was this location targeted? What tools were used? Was AI used?
The New York Times is reporting that the Defense Department has concluded that the United States intentionally attacked that school that killed 170 girls that probably were guided to do it by the Israelis because these girls, it's a private school, these girls were the daughters of IRGC officers.
Let's consider this. What a coinkydink it would be for Iran to attack their own girls' school the very moment they're attacked, a surprise attack occurs in Iran by the United States.
At no point did I hear
it happened to happen
that.
at the same time, the same weekend we launched this invasion.
At no point did I hear him say that. I heard him say that we sell missiles to other countries. I don't know whose that was. I don't remember him saying Iran blew it up themselves.
Right.
Where did that fact come into evidence?
I'm just saying it would be a big coincidence for anybody. I guess the only other player that I could think that would have pulled this off would be Israel, because they would be privy to the information probably that attack was going to occur that weekend. Right?
It's possible. There's lots of, yes, sure, but there are lots of possibilities here. And look, again, I'm not defending the man. I've been hard on him in this conversation, but that's because those facts are what they are. And all I'm trying to say to you is I know for a fact that the U.S. is very, very careful about picking their targets before they launch these things. And there is a process by which civilian casualties are calculated before a strike is authorized, at least from a human perspective. Now, I don't know if Palantir's got their supercomputers in there making autonomous decisions and they don't give a crap about people. That is also a possibility. All I'm saying is that there is a process, and it's highly unlikely, based on that process, that was being done by the United States.
Well, I guess what I would say as we part ways and say goodbye to the audience too is that I think it's highly unlikely that the two girls' schools in Iran would have been destroyed that weekend had the United States not launched an invasion.
Fair enough.
Can we at least agree on that?
Yes,
I don't think those schools would have been
absolutely.
destroyed and all those girls dead had there not been a war which Trump chose to embark on.
That is true.
All right.
Absolutely so. Yeah, I agree that.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I don't think that is the sum total of the dead innocents that we'll see in this war.
And I pray it's otherwise. Sean, I really do. I would pray that calmer heads prevail and everybody puts their pistols back in their holsters. This cannot lead to anything good. And I'm with you. I don't have faith in leadership for all the reasons we described. enough to go and die for my country in Iran. It's not there, and I don't think a lot of other people have that either.
Yeah. Amen. We just want to live in peace.
Yeah.
We just want to make our nation strong, vibrant, sovereign, and we want to live in peace. That's the purpose for this broadcast. I personally feel betrayed. I know that's coming across in my voice. I'm sorry if I'm letting people down, but I just got to call the balls and the strikes as I see them.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on because you're willing to do that with me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really my pleasure, Sean, and that's what I love about you, man. The truth is what it is, and this is the whole point. We've got to confront it. We've got to be intellectually honest, or we will forever be in the fog of war and never make good decisions. So let's hope people embrace this and start seeking exactly what we are, and that's the truth. So God bless you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
God bless you. And one last thing I just want to say really quick. I know you got to go. I would just say that if there's anything we've learned from all of this, it's that the U.S. government, the DC-centric government, the military-industrial complex is not omnipotent. They do not retain total power over the entire world. And if they turn this apparatus around on we the people, just remember what happened in Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Iran. Okay? This is a very, very big country, and God help them if they turn the weapons of war around against we the people, Todd.
Well, let's also remember that it's up to us as to how this is handled, and we don't have to tolerate it. And at the end of the day, the goal of the enterprise is to destroy our country, whether that's by civil war or otherwise. That's the plan. It's up to us to preserve it, right? We are the ones that comprise our nation. It's not a bunch of guys in D.C. So if we want to preserve our nation, we have to hold those ideals true to ourselves and enforce that ourselves. And let us not forget, the omnipotent power in our governance is our sheriffs, right? That at the end of the day, all governance is local. So let's look at local action. Let's be a part of the solution. Let's not let our nation fail.
Amen. And guys, I think the big move for new candidates running for Congress, Senate in the future, if you want to throw your hat in the ring, the big move is going to be to proclaim that you've never taken a penny from AIPAC. I think that's the next big political move. Our guest has been the one, the only CEO of Cloud Hub, author, and attorney Todd Callender. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Sean. God bless you, brother.
God bless you, brother. Okay, friends, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you every single day for free. SGTReport.com. The links are below. And until next time, may God the Creator continue to bless you and yours. Bye-bye.
Organophosphorus, known as OP, pesticides, represent about 40% of the total global pesticide usage, and they're far more dangerous than glyphosate. And originally, these were used in nerve agents that they used in wars like Vietnam. So they're designed to attack our nervous system. In humans, they attack our brain, and they really attack the elderly. And this makes OPs so acutely toxic. While glyphosate exposure rarely leads to immediate fatality, it takes much longer of a time. Now, there's mounting evidence that pesticides are being used as a part of our deliberate population control program, but it's also an attack on our cognitive abilities as well.